can't remember where I parked. The sun beat down on me. I looked around, one hand holding a grocery bag, the other holding my 4-year-old son's hand. Where did we park? It was so bright. Everything looked washed out and overexposed compared to the dim, cool comfort of the grocery store. I thought we'd park down this aisle, but I didn't see my red Civic anywhere. Do you remember where parked? My 4-year-old shook his head, not even looking up at me. Duh. Of course he didn't know. He's 4. I squeezed between 2 cars. Into the next aisle. There it is, I thought, as I saw the red metal bumper poking out behind an enormous silver SUV. But when I got closer, I realized it was a Toyota. Fuck. I squeezed into the next row, looking up and down. I was sweating. The sun was so bright. I glanced all around, turning 360 degrees, scanning for glimpses of red. But I only saw a red pickup. Where did I park? You're freaking out, Maggie. Just go back inside, calm down, and think about where you parked. I glanced down at Aiden, at the top of his little head. He was probably overheated too. We're just gonna go back inside for a minute. Okay, I told him, as I weaved my way back to the front door. The cool air was a welcome relief. I sat down at one of the little tables they had by the deli customer service area. I looked out the big window, but I still didn't see my car. I sighed. You okay? I turned around to see the guy at customer service, a tall, gangly teenager with crooked teeth. Yeah, I just forgot where I parked my car. He nodded sympathetically. Happens all the time. Has it occurred to you that maybe you belong here? I blinked. Huh? Maybe you can't find your car, he repeated, because you belong here. I stared at him. Did he mean like work here? A joke? I forced a laugh. Yeah, maybe I should ask you for a job application, huh? His smile faded. Turn around. I narrowed my eyes at him. Huh? Turn around, Maggie. My heart plummeted. How does he know my name? I turned. Aiden. He had no face. All his features had been smoothed over. Detailless bumps for a nose, eyes. Aiden, I shouted, grabbing his little shoulders, staring at his knot face. He was as limp as a rag doll. What's going on? Don't you remember? The teenager asked. His face was gaunter now, his cheeks sunken to the bone. When you got out, a car pulled right into the parking space next to you. He made a fist and clapped it against his palm. Your little boy is fine, but you, Maggie, are not. I stared out the window at the parking lot, past the parking lot, where the road should have been. Instead, there was just sky, more and more sky. Influencer's Guide to the End. They warned me it's not safe to go outside. It wasn't an alarm, just a polite alert in beige letters. Air quality is currently incompatible with long-term survival. I snapped a screenshot and shared Ida a casual scroll stopper. Yikes. Stay cute indoors, I joked. 7,000 likes in an hour. By afternoon, the sky had drained of blue. It glowed raw and angry, like an open wound. Dust gathered on my windows in rippling waves. My ferns curled into brittle husks. Still, the light was unforgettable. I set up my ring light and filmed my evening skincare routine. Forget nuclear glow, let's call it radiant. I chirped to the camera. My DMs blew up. People asked if it was a filter. They needed my favorite lip stain. I tagged the brand, they replied with a discount code. And thanks for spreading hope forward vibes. That night, the power didn't shuddered. My ring light buzzed like an insect trapped in glass. The fridge sighed in the corner. I lit candles and went live, voice soft. This is a soft collapse stream, I told them, leaning in close, whispering. I'm here with you. Donations climbed into 4 figures before I blew out the last flame. Someone in the chat wondered if the smoke outside was real. Another asked for a tour. I smiled. Showed my rationed glass of water the way light hit it was beautiful, and said, the world's ending, but there's still beauty here. Later, I lay on the floor, chest pressed to the cold tile, hearing the building groan like tired lungs. My phone glimmered with unread notifications, small prayers left unsaid. Morning brought the city's final broadcast. Shelter is self-respect. Panic is privilege. Stay home and tell your story. I reposted it. History is written by those who stay present. I haven't drawn the curtains in days, not out of fear, but to preserve this perfect fading glow. My jaw aches from holding my smile. My skin crawls with itchiness. My bathtub smells of copper. Still, I record, I post. I reach out because I have an audience and they watch until the end. When the dust thickens at dusk, I count the clicks of my radiator, waiting for their messages. My reflection blurs in the screen, softer each day. This morning, I found a hairline crack in my mirror, just a sliver between reality and what's shareable. I touched it and felt warmth on the other side. Tonight at 9, I'll pan my desk candles, notebook, half-emptied water glass. Caption, even now, I choose to be seen. I practice my smile until it hurts. Outside, the earth falls silent in red haze. The world is ending gently, but I won't let the last act pass unposted. There's something wrong with the fire exit. I work night shift security in an office building downtown. Nothing glamorous, just 10 floors of locked doors, flickering lights, and vending machines that never work. I mostly sit at the monitors, walk a couple laps each night, and stay awake until my 6 a.m. relief shows up. The building has one weird feature, a single fire exit on the south stairwell, halfway between the 6th and 7th floors, that's been permanently sealed, bolted shut, steel reinforced. It has a red sign over it that says, "Do not open under any circumstances." I asked my supervisor about it when I first started. He just said, "Old story. Ignore it." But last week I heard knocking from the other side. It was 2:23 a.m. I was on my routine floor sweep when I heard it 3 quick knocks. Then nothing. I froze. I was standing directly next to the sealed fire exit. I waited. Knock, 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 not fast, not desperate, just rhythmic. I stepped back, reached for my radio, then stopped. What was I going to say? There's knocking behind a door no one's supposed to open. I didn't want to be that guy a weekend into the job. But I did mark the time in my logbook. The next night it happened again. Same time, same pattern. I pressed my ear to the door. Nothing. Cold metal. No voice, no breath. Just that faint sense of pressure on the other side. Like something was close. I checked the stairwell cameras when I got back to the desk. Here's the thing. The camera facing the south stairwell near the fire exit glitches out every night between 2:21 and 2:27 a.m. I went back a week in the system, and every night right around that time it cuts to static for 6 minutes. Not motion triggered, not a blackout, just that one camera. I asked the day shift guy if he ever noticed. He said, "Oh, that? Yeah. It's been like that for years." The tech guys gave up trying to fix it. Last night I made the mistake of waiting for it. I brought my phone, put in a fresh battery for my flashlight, and sat on the stairs near the door at 2:20 a.m. Nothing for 2 minutes. Then came the knocking. But this time something responded. A voice. Low and flat, said it's safe now. You can open it. It sounded like my voice. I backed up, heart pounding. "Who's there?" I asked. The voice came again. "You. You know me. Let me out." I nearly ran but forced myself to stay. I put my phone under the door and recorded audio. 30 seconds in, there's this dragging sound, like nails or fingers scraping metal. Then silence. Then whispering. I took the phone back and played the recording. And that's when I realized something was horribly wrong. The whisper on the recording wasn't the voice I heard with my ears. The phone picked up a woman's voice. She was saying my name and sobbing. I went back to the monitors and replayed the stairwell footage for that night despite the glitch. It saved 5 seconds of clear video at 2:25 a.m. For those 5 seconds, the door was open, just slightly. Something pale was standing in the gap, just enough for one eye to peer through. But the door in real life was still sealed when I went back, bolted, untouched. I submitted a maintenance report and didn't mention the rest. Tonight's my shift again. It's already past 1 a.m. I'm writing this from the security desk while staring at that stairwell feed. Static just started early. Whatever's behind that door is getting closer. I just hope it doesn't learn how to open it from the other side. I found a door behind my bathroom mirror. I moved into this old rental house last month. It's in a quiet neighborhood. Cheap rent, nothing too weird, except the bathroom. The mirror above the sink is old, almost antique looking. But when I first cleaned it, I noticed the frame wasn't sealed to the wall properly. The whole thing wobbled. So last week, out of curiosity, I pulled it off completely. Behind it was a narrow wooden door, no handle, just a keyhole and warped wood. There's nothing on the floor plan about a closet or crawl space behind that wall. I left it alone for a day or two. Told myself it was probably some sealed-off cabinet. But things started happening. At night, I hear something behind the wall. Not rats, not plumbing, breathing. Like slow, shallow breaths right up against the other side of that door. I finally broke and pried it open last night using a flathead screwdriver. It wasn't a closet, it was a tunnel. Narrow, cold, carved directly into the stone, and it went deep, way deeper than the dimensions of the house should allow. I only stepped inside for a second. The air felt wrong, heavy, like I'd walked into a cellar that hadn't been opened in 100 years. I swear I heard something move further in. I closed it, hard, hammered nails into the frame, put the mirror back, told myself I imagined it. But tonight the mirror is cracked from the inside, and I can hear breathing again, closer now. The breathing continued, a slow, wet rasp that vibrated through the cracked mirror. It wasn't the sound of an animal, it was too deliberate, too knowing. I backed away from the sink, my heart hammering against my ribs. The cheap floral wallpaper seemed to writhe in the dim bathroom light. This wasn't just a weird house, this was something else entirely. The next few days were a blur of paranoia. I tried to ignore the mirror, to pretend it was just a crack in the glass, the breathing just the house settling. But sleep became a luxury. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside the window, sent jolts of fear through me. The feeling of being watched was constant, a weight pressing down on me. I started noticing other things, small things at first. A book moved slightly on the shelf. A door that I was sure I'd locked was ajar in the morning. Then, the shadows started. They seemed to linger just a moment too long, stretching and distorting in ways that felt unnatural. I'd catch a glimpse of something dark at the periphery of my vision, a fleeting shape that vanished as soon as I focused on it. One evening, I was in the kitchen making a cup of tea. The setting sun cast long, eerie shadows across the linoleum floor. I reached for a mug in the cupboard, when I saw it a handprint on the dusty shelf above. It was large, with long, spindly fingers, and it looked like it had been pressed there from the inside of the cupboard. The cupboard was empty. I hadn't opened it in days. I wanted to leave, desperately, but I was trapped by the lease, by the sheer unsettling oddity of it all. I started researching the house, the neighborhood, anything that could explain what was happening. Old local legends, forgotten histories, I devoured them all, hoping for some kind of answer, some rule to follow to stay safe. The town's history was unremarkable, though. Just the usual tales of early settlers and minor historical events. Nothing about tunnels behind bathroom mirrors, or things that breathed in the walls. The breathing from behind the mirror grew louder, more insistent. Sometimes, I'd hear soft scratching sounds accompanying it, like something with long nails dragging against the wood. The cracks in the mirror spiderwebbed further, and I started to see faint, distorted shapes within the depths of the glass, like shadows moving in another dimension. One night, I woke up to an oppressive cold. The air in my bedroom was thick and heavy, and I could see my breath fogging in front of me. The digital clock on my nightstand flickered and died. Panic seized me. I fumbled for my phone, but the screen remained black. No signal. The power must be out. I reached for my bedside lamp, my hand brushing against something cold and smooth on the nightstand. It felt like polished bone. I snatched my hand back, my heart pounding. In the darkness, I could hear a faint, rhythmic tapping coming from the corner of the room. Tap, tap, tap. It was slow and deliberate, like something was testing the walls, finding its way. I held my breath, straining my ears. The tapping stopped. The cold intensified, and I felt a pressure in the room, like the air was being squeezed out of my lungs. Then I heard it, a whisper, so faint I almost dismissed it as my imagination. But it was there, just at the edge of hearing, a sibilant murmur that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The whisper grew slightly louder, and I could almost make out words, but they were twisted and alien, a language that scraped against my sanity. The feeling of being watched became unbearable, as if unseen eyes were dissecting my very soul. Suddenly, the tapping started again, closer this time, right outside my bedroom door. Tap, tap, tap. The old wood groaned under some unseen weight. I pulled the covers over my head, my body trembling uncontrollably. The familiar darkness of my bedroom, once a sanctuary, now felt like a cage. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that the old rules of safety no longer applied. Whatever was in this house behind that mirror was not bound by the laws of this reality, and it was getting closer. If you find a file named crawl.jpg, do not open it. I think maybe I was wrong. I thought I could handle it. I thought it was just a sick little joke, or fun and games like every other scary internet horror post. But it's more than that, much more. I found it a few nights ago. It was late. I was looking for something interesting, yearning for that classic feeling of finding something forbidden tucked deep in the dark corners of the web. I found it. A weird little post that was shared in an obscure horror group online. The title was just crawl.jpg. It was simple, really, not much to it. I would have just scrolled past it. But I was desperate to find anything interesting at that hour. The post had a single JPG file named crawl.jpg and a single line of text above it that read, "I'm hiding from him." I waited, staring at the text. I read it again and again. A feeling of dread came over me fast, pulling me under a wave of fear. Excitement and curiosity. Whatever this file was, it was bound to scare the pants off me. I was thrilled. I went to move the mouse. I hesitated. I glanced around the room, trying to shake that feeling you get when you think someone's walking up behind you. Nothing, just paranoid. My adrenaline pumped as I double-clicked the link to the image. I got several strange pop-ups on my computer. Ad blocker caught a few, and the ones that slipped through were just black boxes with jumbled, unreadable text, not even ads. It gave me a good scare. But mostly I was just confused. Then finally the image loaded. The image was distorted and honestly difficult to see. I had to adjust the contrast on my screen to make out anything at all. But now I wish ID stayed in the dark, in the safety of ignorance. It was a small bedroom, white walls, bluish curtains, a twin bed that looked like it had been ripped apart by something feral, torn sheets, collapsed mattress, splintered frame. The only lights in the room came from a few faint red candles, set in a loose circle carved into the wooden floor. My first thought was, oh, just generic witch stuff, nothing too creepy. But as I looked closer, my heart stopped. A formless mass was curled up under part of the bed. Not much was visible, but it looked like a body, or what once was a body. The haunting pulp was pulling itself into the darkness beneath the frame. I could only make out a few details, a tentacled lump, slick with what looked like blood, dragging something that jutted out at odd angles. Two splintered white shapes bone, I think pierced from opposite sides of the mass like broken limbs. All along the visible side of its skin were large circles and swollen spots. I blinked, took another look. They weren't just markings, they were eyes, cruel, piercing, unblinking eyes. There were 20, maybe 30 of them, scattered across its body, looking in every direction, looking right at me. I gasped and clicked the X in the corner so fast my hand cramped. I stood up immediately and looked around my room. Lights on, quiet. I waited there in the silence, thinking, processing. Maybe am still processing. The last few nights haven't been kind to me, and I'm starting to get worried. The nightmares are vicious. The same images, the bed, the circle, the thing. It keeps inching its way deeper into my mind. When I finally got the courage to get back on the computer, I saw that the link had installed a file onto my hard drive. It was labeled the same way, crawl.jpg. I keep getting the strangest feeling that something's watching me from the screen. I unplugged my webcam and tilted all my monitors, so I can still type without being directly in front of them. I know it sounds crazy, but crazy things have been happening, so I am giving crazy right back. I tried to delete the file yesterday. It seemed to work like normal, but I swear I keep seeing something in the corner of my eye. Every time I glance at the screen, just for a second, I see a face. But when I look again, it's gone. The lights have been hurting my eyes all day, so I switched to candles. There were some pretty red ones my wife bought a while back, left over in the closet. I lit a few and spread them around the room. It helped my headache a bit, but that's the least of my worries now. I've been holding a trash can most of the night, vomiting up weird stuff, like mucus, a little blood. My wife's been worried about me. I haven't left the room all day, but it just feels safer in here. If it gets worse, I'll go to the doctor, but I think it's just a bad flu. And the blood? Probably from coughing, because the coughing is constant now. My sides ache. I feel things crawling just beneath the surface of my skin like bugs skittering inside me. Even when I'm weak, it jolts me upright with a full-body shiver. I nearly fainted earlier when it happened. I laid down on the floor, and it actually felt comfortable, like my bones needed it. I feel so hollow and brittle. You ever find a stick in the woods, and you just know exactly what sound it'll make when it breaks? That's what it feels like all over my body. I've been trying to stay busy to distract myself, but that thing keeps slithering into my thoughts. I started drawing it into the floor. I just want it out of my head. My wife went out to get more cough medicine. It feels like nothing is working. I passed out earlier, and the nightmares are still there, stronger than ever. I'm dizzy, off balance, and I don't think I'm alone in here anymore. I keep checking the window, hoping to see her pulling into the driveway. But there's nothing, just dark, just shadows. And they're moving when they shouldn't be. There's a face in the corner of the room. It's been staring at me for probably hours now. I don't want to look directly at it. I'm trying to hurry and type this out before something worse happens. I think I'm going to go hide under the bed until my wife comes home. It seems like a safe place. Safe from the eyes. He won't find me there. Crawl JPG. They're butchering themselves for a free meal. In my restaurant, I made a deal where if your height is 5 feet, then everything is for free. You can't be under 5 FT or over 5 FT, and you must be bang on 5 FT. I thought it was a good deal, and it started to gain the attraction of the community. I have had this restaurant for 5 years and have never done a deal. So this will be the first ever deal I have ever done. I never have done any deals before, as I am the sort of person that believes that you pay whatever the menu says. Some people were happy with it, while others weren't. I am very popular, and everyone loves the food we make. I remember some customers getting angry because they weren't exactly 5 FT. They were small, but just under 5 FT. And some were just over 5 FT. I then had some tall guys coming into the restaurant and demanding free food. I told them that only people who are exactly 5 FT are entitled to free food, and neither under or over that height. So, yeah, we had some people who were unhappy with us. This was the deal in my restaurant, and I'm sticking with it. Then someone entered the restaurant, and they were climbing on the floor, because they had chopped off their own legs. Blood was behind them, and this guy wanted free food. When we measured him, unfortunately, he was still a little over 5 FT. He started to scream and shout that he had chopped off his own legs to become short. He is in poverty and needs food and drink. I told him that he still hasn't qualified for the deal. Then another guy crawled into the stories by climbing the floor, because he chopped off his whole legs, and all that is left is his body. Unfortunately, he was under 5 FT, and so he didn't qualify for the deal of free food. Then someone else came into the store, and I saw him coming into the store before. But he was shorter than 5 FT. Now he looked taller. But he was over 5 FT now and still didn't qualify for free food. He then threw 2 lumps of leg limbs at me. Some people were complaining how much of a terrible deal this was. I kept to my guns, and then finally, someone who was bang on 5 FT came into the store and he was allowed free food. This deal does work. I took the wrong bus home now. I'm trapped in another reality. Leaving Dartmouth was easy, the busy streets, and the piles of garbage all around town weren't really what I was into. The moment I got onto the bus, I let out an audible sigh of relief. I was finally coming home. Nova Scotia is truly beautiful. The scenery as green as the ferns that lay upon the land. It really was an enjoyable first few hours, up until I noticed something was off about the people that rode on the bus with me. They were quiet, and I know people on public transportation are usually quiet. But I mean, I hadn't heard one word spoken, one cough, sneeze, or even a breath. I thought this was weird, but didn't think much of it until we made it to our first stop. The driver announced over the PA we could leave the bus for 15 minutes to stretch our legs. Excited to finally be able to stand up, I waited for the people in front of me to get up first before I left, but no one did. After a minute, I got up and started walking down the aisle. Everyone had their eyes locked on me. Feeling uneasy, but still not convinced anything weird was going on, I got off the bus, had a few cigarettes, and got back on. As I boarded the bus, everyone looked as though they had nodded off. Yet there was no snoring. Odd, but not everyone snores. So I guessed the bus was just full of nose breathers. Sitting back in my seat, I looked up to see everyone was turning their heads away from me as if they were staring again. Seriously freaked out now. I planned on just getting off at my next stop and taking the next bus. Not 30 minutes into the drive, I noticed the bus taking an off-ramp. And then the fog came. As we drove down the road, it came rolling in like I've never seen. I couldn't even see a foot out of my window. That's when the bus stopped. Freaking out from all the previous events, I felt anxiety coming on strong. The lights flickered in the bus and then went out. It was pitch black. Checking the time on my phone, it read 2:45 a.m. confused. As it's only been a few hours since I was on the bus and I left at 3 p.m., all at once, synchronized whispers filled my head. You're not supposed to be here. How did you get here? I felt hands grabbing at my body. I was flailing my arms and kicking my legs. Then I saw a face not 2 inches from my own. The eyes were hollow, and the mouth hung open from a jaw that had to be dislocated. Then the lights came on, and everyone was gone. I thought I just had a bad dream, but what happened to all the passengers? The bus driver, staring at me with a grin in the rear-view mirror, announces on the radio, next stop Port Hawkesbury. It was the longest hour of my life. I just wanted off that bus. Arriving in Port Hawkesbury, I bolted off the bus and looked back. The bus was gone like it wasn't even there. I called my friend, who picked me up and drove me the rest of the way home. He was different, not speaking at all the whole way home, and not saying goodbye as he dropped me off, just peeling away. I got a call from my friend asking where I was. Confused, I told him, "You literally just dropped me off. And what was up with you not responding to me or making conversation at all?" He responded with, "Come on, stop messing with me. I'm outside of where you told me to pick you up. Hurry up, I have stuff to do in the morning." I told him I already made it home, and he got mad saying if I had another way home, he didn't have to drive 2 hours to come get me, and hung up. Even more confused, I went inside, noticing my parents on the couch staring blankly into the TV. Not a word from them, no matter how much I tried. Freaking out, I ran to my room, shut and locked the door when I heard it again. "You're not supposed to be here. Leave." The whispers stayed even with my hands covering my ears so hard it felt like I was going to crush my own skull. My parents called asking when I was going to arrive home, not knowing what to say. I told them I got stuck in Port Hawkesbury and that I was going to stay the night there. I'm in my room right now writing this out. I can text my friends and call them, and the internet works as usual. I'm starting to think I'm stuck in some kind of alternative universe, and I don't have the slightest clue on how to leave. Please help me. If you enjoyed the story, consider subscribing, but don't blame me if you can't sleep tonight. Until next time, keep the lights on and the doors locked. Goodbye.